McCarthy, and I help people with their breakups, situationships, and relationships. Let's get into it today. Put any questions for today in the comments, and I'll get to them after I get through this brief. Also, you can go to rightmac.com if you want to book a live coaching session. Like and subscribe to the channel as always. So, today is a topic that a lot of people, when they're in the middle of a breakup, sometimes are like, well, what if they do come back? And I just had a client yesterday that we've done some coaching before a long time ago for a breakup, and now they were in a new breakup, and she just emailed me back that they got back together. And some of the advice that I had given her had quote unquote worked. Well, the interesting thing about that is nothing's foolproof, bulletproof to work every time. Knowing your situation, your relationships, the ins and outs, talking to me for an hour or 2 hours, I can give you some really good advice tailored to your situation. That's the best case scenario. So the problem these days is a lot of people are getting advice from 100 different sources to fit an answer they want. So let's get into this today, though. What do I do if my ex comes back? Number one, know what you want, not what they want. So a lot of times you think like, all right, let me just please them if you're really hard up to get them back. So the situation is different for different people. But knowing first and foremost what you want. You want to get married, you want to fix the problems, you just want to get back with them because you miss the intimacy. Just be honest with yourself. Write a list. Why do I want them back? Number one, number two, number three, number four. Write it out, even if you're not getting back with them right away. Not what they want. Then in a separate list, maybe ask yourself, what do they want? Now see how they line up. All right, they want this, I want that. What's up, Brian Union? So you get to that point where at least you can line up. Are we even keel here? Now, if they come back, depending on the situation's always different. The personalities and the characters are always different. You don't want to just have it out on all your problems right away. Now, here's the thing. Number two, what were the issues? If they were small, petty, then time and space can dissipate them. So if, like, for example, if you broke up and you've only been together 6 months and it's been pretty good, let's just say an 8 out of 10, a 9 out of 10, if you were going to grade it, everything's been pretty good. And you had one night where you got drunk, you were a little obnoxious at a bar. It felt like your girlfriend felt like you were flirting and she broke up with you. And like I said, you've only been together 6 months. You didn't work through it or anything like that. That's one of those things that you say sorry for, you address, and it's not enough, and they have to break up. It's borderline petty, right? It's like it's one of those things. It's like it's not a huge thing. It's not a repeated problem. Those kinds of things that there's already been a sorry for, it's already been discussed. You don't want to keep going back to that. Now, if it's a big problem that you can't let go, like someone pulled a fucking knife on you or those kinds of things, you're probably going to have less of an ability to let that go or forgive and forget. So it depends on the problem. So if the thing was like, oh, we just argued and they couldn't let it go, then sometimes time and space can dissipate petty or small problems. If they're big problems, when the person comes back, you got to know what you want. Number three, if the problems are still big and not gone, are you willing to accept them or will you demand they fix things first? Big statement. Big statement, right? This is a big thing. You get back together, it's obvious that you had a problem, they had a problem. And usually when you break up, even if they broke up with you and rejected you, you're like, well, I didn't like that they did this. I didn't like that they did this. So when you look at the issues, the problems at hand, are you suddenly willing to accept it? Now, I've seen this before. I'll give you an example. This is kind of interesting. There's a guy that him and his girlfriend were together for about 3 years, lived together, were really close, loved each other, and he had jealousy issues. That's just people that have jealousy issues, it's just baked in. It's something they learned from their parents' relationship. It's insecurity. And when I say jealous, it's not like they're just a little bit jealous. they have a problem, right? They're always on point that you did something wrong, that you're dressing in the wrong way, that you're flirting. They're very sensitive about that. Now, here's the thing. So this particular relationship, this guy was already had the jealousy gene, right? Where he complained, or if his girlfriend wore certain clothes or anything like that, he was just pissed off. He knew he was a jealous type. Jealous people that don't think they're have a problem are a problem. So what they do is they keep validating their jealousy as you being the problem, and it's extremely um, exhausting for the other person because they're always trying to prove to you, "Oh, I'm not trying to hook up with anyone else," and you're always trying to prove to them, "Yeah, I know you are." So he already had that issue. His girlfriend knows that. She keeps giving into it, like, "Well, I have to cooperate better. I have to dress different." The list goes on. So finally, what happens is they have a blowout. She breaks up with him because she just can't take it because he won't allow her to go to a Christmas party with her work because he doesn't like where she works. And they're just going to be drinking there, and he feels like she's going to be promiscuous and flirtatious. So he makes this big deal that if you go to that Christmas party, I'll break up with you. You don't care about me. The list goes on. She breaks up with him. And the next day, he starts changing immediately, hanging out, drinking at her work, willing to hang out with her friends, gives in to all these things that he had a major problem with for a year because he doesn't want to break up. And he makes it like, well, I'm going to make more of an effort. No, you're not making an effort. You're going against your morals and values. It's going to be conflicting. There's going to be resentment. There's going to be problems. And this particular guy didn't even drink. He didn't like that his girlfriend drank. He was trying to get her to stop. And then when she broke up with him, he's like, "Fuck it. If can't beat him, join him." Starts drinking with her. Now, from the outside, everyone's like, "What? What do you mean?" So this is what people do sometimes. The pain of breaking up with someone you love that has a habit that you can't stand, instead of breaking them out of that habit or attempting to force them out of it, you join them. So it's not a good look. So the same thing can happen in a breakup. Someone goes, "Oh my God, we were broken up for 2 weeks, and now that we got back together, the issue that they had with me, I'm going to make it all better and sacrifice my character's morals and values." So I just gave you an example there. This guy has a problem with her drinking, going out, hanging out late. So when he gets back with her, he's like, "Oh, I'll start drinking and hanging out late with you and doing those things. So at least I can monitor what you're up to." People do this all the time. And then a year later, they're bitter. Or a year later, they end up with the habit worse than the person they're with. Number four. Okay. This is probably one of the bigger ones. If you're going to get back together, at the core of being boyfriend, girlfriend, intimate, romantic relationship, husband and wife is intimacy. Frame that however you want, use your imagination. It's a thing, right? If you get back together and you're not getting intimate, and I'm not saying like on the spot in the day, and you don't miss each other and want to get it in, it should be really good when you do. And if it's really good, that's going to be the spark that lights the fire to reunite you guys together. And someone's like, "Oh, that's not what you need to do. If they come back, you need to hold out." I'm just telling you my take. Okay. There's certain situations maybe you do want to hold out or whatnot, but that's what's going to get you back together. You've broken up, you were hurt, you were upset, someone's upset, the feelings are array. If you get back together, you have dinner, you go out, you hang out, and at the end of the night, you consummate the night with good intimacy, that's gonna put you back on deck to have an intimate relationship again. Is it gonna fix everything? No, but it's gonna take you out of that last element of, "I hate you, I can't believe you did this to me," all this anger, all this ground zero, back to, "Oh, wow, this is one of the basic things that we were really good at," right? And if you didn't have good intimacy for months before the breakup, then that's a whole nother problem. Stay present. So this is something I tell people a lot of times. If you're gonna get back together, When you go on your first date, stay present. If you want to bring up the old stuff, you can. If the old stuff's extreme, you don't feel like they're sorry for it, okay, fine. But it's gonna push you 2 steps back from getting back together. If the person's already apologized for it, they're already aware of it. If you're the person that apologized or already are aware of your mishaps, then don't keep bringing it up. And if it's that extreme and you can't let it go, then don't get back together. Because if that's what you're gonna do every time you're upset with them, what you're saying is, "I just don't trust that you're sorry, and I don't trust that you're gonna do it again." And if that's the case, then you're gonna get back into a relationship that's handicapped, that can only go so far because what they did, you're just not willing to forgive them. That's okay. Don't get back with them then. Number 6, you miss them. Get creative, fun on dates, and with good intimacy. So I already said good intimacy, but what you wanna do is you want to create a situation where at the end of the night, like, it's fun. It's not like you were just watching Netflix for 5 days a week for a year, and then you might hook up. You wanna do something that is out of the box a little bit, something that you guys haven't done for a while. Number 7, really ask, "If I take this person back, what's the best case scenario?" So, like, if we get back together and everything works out, what's the best case scenario? We're gonna have kids, we're gonna get married, she's gonna get that promotion. What is it gonna be? Like, write it out, think about it. What is it gonna be? What's it look like if we get back together, like, everything goes right? What do you believe is the best case scenario? 'Cause some people are like, "I don't know." It's not a good place to be. Relationships are just like career goals. It's like, what are some finish lines? What are some next levels? Where do you wanna head with it? Number 8, will they change or do I have to? Will they change or do I have to? Do I want to? So if you're getting back together, do they want you to change some things about your habits, your character, your personality traits, the people you hang out with, or do you want them to change? And if you do you want to change? Do they want to change? You can get back together just because you're lonely, just because you missed each other, but you don't fix that issue of like, they want me to do this, I don't want to do it. Well, then the same problem's going to happen again. You're going to break up again. Are they bad for me? I'm just afraid of being alone. It's a good question to ask. Like, is this person toxic? Is this person someone that I can trust? Is this person someone that might break up with me again? Are they a person that's highly manipulative? And why would I go back to them? Just because I'm afraid of being alone? That's a common thing, by the way. Loneliness is highly feared. So be honest with yourself. If you stay away from that person, a bit longer, will you create the distance you need to be strong enough to believe that you can be with someone that you actually feel like is a good person, that has good boundaries and good morals, and someone that you want to integrate your life with rather than constantly put out fires? 10. Was I wrong and now they're forgiving me? So this is a really good question. Did you do something bad, such as cheating, stealing, raising your voice in public? And are they forgiving you for that? Are they letting that go? Are they moving forward? If they're not, the problem is, yeah, they missed you. I miss you. I miss you not. And what will happen is they'll go from, yeah, I missed you. Yeah, you're great. Oh, yeah, you did this to me. That means they haven't let that go. It's too extreme for them. And you're never going to really be able to get that out of them. And you saying sorry again and explaining yourself, sometimes it's just a replay thing. It's like rewinding the same message over and over again. If that happens when you first start to get back together, it's not going away. You probably aren't going to be able to last very long. Number 11, on what grounds do they come back? So this is a big one. So let's just say that, and this is where you have to use like a little bit of intelligence and a little bit of mindfulness of how well you know this person. So they come back, it's been 4 months. Okay. You've been broken up 4 months. And one of the issues in the relationship was they were always out of a job and they needed money. Okay. I've seen this a lot of times. And so that bothered you and it led to a lot of problems in the relationship. And you were always putting out extra money for them to take care of them, to help them out. Now, here's the thing. You've been done for 4 months and you're like, "Hey," she's like, "Hey, how have you been? What have you been up to? Oh, I miss you." And you're like, "Hey, do you have a job?" And just by chance, they just lost their job again. And when they'd lose their job, they would lean on you for money. And so you're like, "Oh, you lost your job on the 1st and you're calling me on the 5th." You're not saying that, but connect the dots, right? It's like, what on what grounds did they come back? Because they miss you would be ideal, because they appreciate you after missing you so long, because they realize whatever problems you had, love has obstacles and let's get through them. But if you put together the dots and like, wow, you just lost your job 2 days ago and now you really miss me. And this has been an issue in the past. I know the can I borrow some money things coming up, or the idea that if I re-engage in this relationship, then I get those benefits of the person paying my way for everything. You see what I'm saying? There's another so what are they coming back for? Now the other one is just intimacy. Sometimes people just miss the booty call. They just it's like 3 weeks, I haven't had any intimacy. The person's not a promiscuous person. They're not having luck on dating apps. And they're like, "Ah, I just want to get intimate." The ideal thing is they missed you and they appreciate you more after being away. And they realize whatever the problems were, let's get through them and fix them. And so that's why when you have some healthy individual that has their shit together and they come back to you, you're like, all right, this is all in. If you have someone that has a bunch of problems, they have money issues, they have no job, they hate their parents, you know, they're failing out of school. I'm not saying to have no uh compassion for those people. I'm just saying that's not a good grounds to get back together, right? Because you're just enabling that individual that when they're down and out, they can get you back. You don't want them on those grounds. Okay, so this one actually really counts. And this is where if you book a live coaching session, how long the relationship was prior to counts. Like how long were you together? So if you were only together 6 or 7 months, and that goes to the next thing. So was this your first breakup? So a lot of times I would say there's a much better chance of getting back together if it's your first breakup. Because whatever the issue is, it's like someone goes, "Oh, I didn't know it was that important to you. Now I know because you were willing to break up with it." I don't think that's a great negotiating tactic, but there's a little bit more of a chance. And if that first breakup was over something that's not a big deal, that's not hard to come back from. So if the relationship's like 4 or 5 years and this is your first breakup, then it's gonna be significant. It's gonna be really tough. Um, but the length of your relationship and getting back together really counts. It really does count. Whereas, like, people that are together I get people "Well, we were together 6 months, or we were together 7 months, or we were together 9 months." Yeah, we had a lot of issues. If you had a lot of issues in the 6 months, 7 months, 9 months, it's curtains. It's not gonna work. "Oh, we've broken up 4 times in 6 months." Okay, just break up then. If you guys haven't had a long period of time of goodness, just break up, just move on. You're a dog chasing his tail. So and the idea was this your first breakup? The reason why I would ask that is because if you make up to break up 7 times in 2 years, then that's just a habit. It's just an unhealthy relationship. Whereas if it's your first breakup, this is an opportunity to say, "All right, these are the problems. This is a reason. This is a sensitive issue for them. Am I willing to meet them halfway on the bridge?" Number 14, this is a really good thing to journal out when you're in a breakup. If you what was your top 3 best dates or times together, and what was your top 3 intimate moments? And so when you get back together, maybe you can mimic some of those moments or do something along those lines and have that in your back pocket because those kinds of things, um, those kind of memories and those kind of moments, you wanna relive them. You don't wanna get back together and just go right back into blaming each other. And if you can't do that, then just don't get back together. It's not worth it. Now, if you look online, they'll have things like, "Oh, make sure the other person is doing personal growth. Make sure that how to handle the reasons to return, explore various reasons that X might be concerned coming back, unresolved feelings, loneliness." Where am I going with this? There's some people out there that will get back and their ex comes back and they wanna have this heart to heart and talk about what their therapist talked about and how, like, we need to communicate better, and you're not saying the right things at the right time. If you're gonna have one of these esoteric, deep, psychologically intelligent conversations, if the person's a psychiatrist and they're in school for that, and that's really something that vibes with them, fine. Well, the vast majority of people, it's like, it could be exhausting. Like, okay, I realize you just read 100 blogs or watched 100 videos on psychology of marriages and relationships, and now you're vomiting that out on the first time back together. The reality is, get back to that part where you guys just go out on a date and actually connect and enjoy each other's company and see what it's like to be in each other's presence. Because here's the thing, when you get back together, a lot of people, "Oh, my ex came back," doesn't mean you're back together. Sometimes people pop their head in the door because they just wanna see how you've been. "Oh, that's not true. Maybe they really wanted me back." I don't know, there's some people out there that are like, "I really just wanna see how you're doing. I care about you, but I don't wanna get back with you." Or they just wanna get intimate, but they don't wanna get back together. There's all kinds of variables for that that's not coming back officially as your girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, and wife, official partner. Think about that for a minute. It's different. It's different. Now, what happens is a lot of times, if you do get back together just that first day, one of the biggest ones that guys have an issue with is like, "Have you been hooking up with someone else?" And if the girl answers like, "Why are you asking that question?" Then they have to ask the question again, and it gets deeper and deeper and deeper. And it's like she's like, "Well, I was single. I hooked up with Todd at work, but it was just one time." And the guy just spirals out of control and gets upset. If that happens and you can't handle it, there's no way of bringing that information back. And so what happens is like your relationship gets weakened every time you break up and get back together because you have to your relationship hopefully is like this, especially in the beginning, it's moving up, it's getting better and better, you're connecting better. Maybe you guys even out, maybe you have a little bit of a dip, but you come back up. When you're broken up, it's like this, right? So when you get back together, hopefully it's a slow, gradual raise back to where you were. If it's 0 to 100, then it's 100 to 0. All right, anyone in the chat that wants to ask some questions about this particular topic, go ahead and throw them out there. Brian Unier says, "Better make damn sure you've improved and do not lie and say you have when you haven't, because they'll be able to tell trust you." Um, just know that your partner, if you've been together long enough, knows you pretty well. So if you're being inauthentic, and I've mentioned this many times, if you've been together 3-4 years and one of their issues is that you don't make decisions enough, or you don't stand up for yourself, you're weak. You can't come back to the relationship and all of a sudden be strong in a day. A big one is when people live together, tidiness or clean. And if, let's just say, a guy has a habit of leaving crumbs on the counter, I've heard of guys talking about this many times, or not tidying up the kitchen in the way she wants it tidied up. They come back to the relationship after they've had problems and they start cleaning the kitchen. And the woman's like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "Well, I'm just tidying up." Now the guy's thinking like, "Why don't I get some credit for this? I'm actually going out of my way." She's already typecasted you as being messy. You're almost better off in that situation, if possible, um, to not overdo it and just clean up after yourself, or get a cleaning lady. Get someone else to help you out with the clean. I don't know, but the idea that you're just gonna do something that you've built a case and your character and your reasons why, it's just like, if someone cheated and they're like, I stopped cheating today. It's like, it's hard to believe. They've typecasted you. So it's sometimes hard to get out of those things that they have a problem with you about. And that's why when you break up for 2 months, 3 months, if you come back, you can change some of those habits, but you're not going to do it in a day. Right. And that can be very frustrating for people because they're like, I'm willing to change. I'm willing to do that. And it's like, are you? Because people like to be right. So once they've kind of typecasted you as a messy person and all of a sudden you're extremely clean, they're going to be like, what's going on with you? What's, are you all right? Are you just doing this to overcompensate to get back with me? So that doesn't mean you don't improve those things. Just don't be surprised if someone doesn't receive your efforts sincerely from Jump Street. Because what happens is that someone's like, "Oh, I'm making an effort. I'm not getting any credit." This is extremely true with women to men. It's like they're like, yeah, no, I know you haven't cooked dinner in 6 months, and now you're cooking dinner 3 days in a row because you don't want to break up." Now, sometimes some people in a relationship are, oh, I know how to get their attention. I threaten to break up, and then I get everything I want. A lot of intricate things to all this play in relationships. If you want to book a live session, go to writemac.com. If you don't find the session useful or helpful, I'll issue you a full refund. Been doing this a long time and I'm very good at it. Wish you all the best. It is curtains.